Long before written history, our people walked this land.
Before the pyramids, before the empires, before the great civilizations of the Americas, there were the first Surinamese. They walked these lands 12,000 years ago. They were hunters, nomads, and pioneers. They left behind no grand monuments, no written records.
Stone keeps the tribe alive.
But they left behind something far more important, the foundation of a world that would last for thousands of years. This is their story. This is the story of the Paleo Indians.
Every tool carries memory.
Who were the Paleo Indians? Around 10,000 BC, the first nomadic hunters settled in what is now Suriname.
The rivers guide our journeys.
Archaeologists call them the Paleo Indians. They were not the first humans in the Americas. Those had crossed from Asia into Alaska thousands of years earlier. But they were the first to reach the tropical rainforests of the Guianas.
Tonight we rest beside the water.
They followed the game across the savannas and through the dense jungles. They moved with the seasons, living off the land. They knew every river, every trail, every secret of the forest.
Our hands shape survival.
They were the original Surinamese. The name Paleo Indian comes from the Greek word paleos, meaning ancient. These were the ancient people of the Americas.
Strength comes from patience.
They lived in small nomadic groups. They traveled in search of food. They hunted, fished, and gathered wild plants.
Everything we need comes from the land.
Their entire world was the savannah, the river, and the forest. Life in the Sipalawini savannah. The Sipalawini savannah was their home. A vast grassland surrounded by jungle. This is where archaeologists have found the oldest traces of human life in Suriname.
Stories survive through marks and memory.
At a site called Hattenritz, researchers discovered stone tools, spear points, and the remains of ancient camps. These artifacts tell us about their lives. The Paleo Indians hunted giant animals that no longer exist in Suriname.
Stone carried our future.
They hunted giant sloths, creatures as large as elephants. They hunted mastodons, distant relatives of modern elephants. They hunted ancient horses, giant armadillos, and other megafauna.
The forest feeds us too.
These animals were dangerous. Hunting them required skills, courage, and teamwork. The first Surinamese. These early inhabitants were not just surviving, they were thriving.
We share this world with them.
They knew the land in ways we can only imagine. They knew which plants were edible and which were poisonous. They knew where to find water in the dry season.
The land remembers every journey.
They knew where the animals would gather. They understood the seasons, the weather, and the rhythms of nature. They lived in temporary camps. They built simple shelters from branches and leaves. They gathered around fires at night, sharing stories, making plans, and passing on knowledge. They buried their dead with care. They left behind traces of a life that was rich and meaningful. Suriname was not an empty land, waiting to be discovered.
Skill grows slowly.
It was already home. A home built over thousands of years, with stories carved into every stone and every riverbank. What happened to the Paleo Indians? As the climate changed, so did the world of the Paleo Indians.
The journey never truly ends.
The giant animals they hunted began to disappear. Mastodons, giant sloths, and other megafauna went extinct. The Paleo Indians had to adapt.
Tomorrow we move again.
They began to hunt smaller animals. They relied more on fishing and gathering.
Our ancestors shaped these paths.
They started to move less, to stay longer in one place. Over thousands of years, the nomadic Paleo Indians began to settle. They chose places near rivers, where fish was plentiful, and the soil was fertile. 3000 BC, life had shifted. Small villages appeared along the Corentyne River.
They still remain.
And other waterways. These were the first permanent settlements in Suriname. The Paleo Indians did not disappear. They became the ancestors of the later indigenous nations, the Arawak, the Carib, the Trio, and the Wayana.
This land shaped our lives.
Their legacy lived on in the languages, traditions, and cultures of those who followed. The Paleo Indians were the first Surinamese.
The rivers remember us.
They came before the pyramids, before the empires, before the written word. They left behind no grand monuments. But they left behind something far more important: a connection to the land that still exists today. When you walk through the forests of Suriname, when you paddle along its rivers, when you sit on its savannas, you are walking in their footsteps. You are breathing the air they breathed.
We belong to this land.
You are seeing the rivers they saw. Their story is our story. Their legacy is our legacy. What do you find most fascinating about the first people of Suriname?
Their story still lives.
Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, like the video and follow Sranan Stories for more stories from Suriname's rich history and cultures.
Our footsteps remain here.
This is the first episode of Chapter 1, The Americas Before Columbus. Next episode, the first settlements, when nomads became villagers.
The land remembers everything.
Suriname was never empty. It was already home.